So, Troy, it's a pleasure to speak to you. First of all, your tape is a joy to watch. So, the first question is, how would you describe your playing style?
For me, it's like a mixture of both finesse and like, nastiness. I feel like that's just I feel like I have both in my game. Like at times I can play finesse, I can get to a spot, I can lock up a guy this way, punch this way, or set another way. It's I feel like for me, it's always um I try to do things different every single play just so I don't give the same look to a defender. And at the end of the day, like it's offensive line, and my coach has always taught us to play very physical and violent, and that's just I feel like that's how I play. So I feel like you get the best of both worlds, and I feel like I can do anything to be honest. So
Yeah, the way that I've been describing you is sort of like athletic violence. Those are the kind of words that I think about because you get after guys. You're not passive. You initiate contact. So, where does that mentality come from to complement your obvious athletic traits that you have?
to be honest, I think it just comes from my coach, Coach Huff, who's now with the Seahawks, and like at first when I got there, the mentality when it came to pass pro was very aggressive, very get on guys, like don't let guys. You don't want to be in space because time and space are our enemy, especially as offensive linemen. Because guys you go against, on the edge are very athletic. You know what I mean? They're way more athletic than I am. So the best way to to counter that is to go get them. So I feel like just over time, his teachings have changed up just a little bit, just because of the offense and what this past few years, what the offense has asked of us. But I feel like from there, just our coach and just the mindset of competing with your other O linemen to see who can get the most pancakes or KOs or do this and that. It's always like some sort of competition in between the room, but a healthy competition because at the end of the day, we're all looking to put somebody on their back. So
There was one play that has stuck with me for months where you did exactly that, and it was against Oregon. And your guy off the edge, he drops instead of rushing, and you didn't have anybody to block. So you just went and
yeah,
absolutely hammered the defensive tackle who was trying to rush the A gap. And I
yeah,
think the center and the guard were trying to get at him, and you just wanted a piece of that. So you just sort of
yeah,
moved across. So,
yeah.
is that sort of like your how you play the game is that you're always looking for something to do, because
Mhm.
sometimes you can be quite passive as a tackle. If you've not got anybody to block, you can just sort of sit there on the edge, but you seem to
Yeah.
sort of go and initiate that contact and seek it.
Yeah, it's a mindset thing. You got to go into the game like willing, being willing to like go hit somebody in their mouth. Then that's what the position asks of us, and that's how I feel like O-line is supposed to be played is aggressive and violent and nasty. And you gotta have a want to go do that type of stuff. Like, yeah, our coach hates when we're standing around. You know what I mean? And why not? If I'm not blocking nobody, why not go help my teammate? Why not go help my brother? Um, Not that he needs it, but at the end of the day, it looks cool, and it's something that like you can't really do too often, especially in football, playing offensive line. You can't go and hit somebody like that on in the real world. But yeah, man, it's a mindset thing. You got you either you have it or you don't, and I feel like um, our coach did a really good job of making sure that we had that every single day and every single game, every single practice.
Never seen a tackle pull off a spin move as part of a block before. Are you particularly proud of
Yeah.
that one?
Honestly, no, because the situation that it happened in, I actually like felt like I got beat. Like that's a like a last resort type of thing. And like we never like drilled that. We've never done that before. Like I don't know what just came upon me to spin, but it happened. I've done it a couple times, and like I said, I don't want to be in that position to start with at the first because like I said, I'm very critical of like myself, and I feel like I don't want to be in situations. It looks cool to other people, but that last resort feeling, you don't want to be there. I don't want to be in that position. But yeah, it just happened, to be honest. I felt like that was the best situation. It just instinct. I don't know how. We've never done it before. I've never been coached that, but yeah.
I loved how earlier in the season you did an interview and you said you were unhappy that defenders had got near Michael Penix Jr. And yet for the season, you only gave up zero point 0.8 sacks per game. So are you a bit of a perfectionist?
In a way, I feel like our and it all stems from the coaching that I've gotten these last 5 years, man. It's my offensive line coach, Scott Huff, he almost coaches us in a way where every single play needs to be perfect. And he understands it because he played O line, and he knows that no football game, no is ever going to be perfect. He knows we're gonna lose a rep, we're gonna lose a couple reps or whatever that is. But always being critical of myself has always been something that I really learned from him. And like regardless if I did a good play or not, I'm always trying to find ways to just critique my game, be nitpicky of myself, so that when I do get coached from other people, it's easy. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people take hard coaching very personal, but for me, it's always been um, he's looking out for me. He has the best in mind for me. So yeah, in a way I am, but at the same time, I know I'm gonna make mistakes, and I know some things aren't gonna go too well, but it's always a matter of how you respond in those situations. So
You've mentioned a few times the impact that Scott Huff has had on you, and can you tell us a bit more about him? And as he has now sort of gone to the NFL with Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator, do you sort of see that being a smooth transition for them? And how much of those two people had a big impact on your career?
yeah, I mean, just starting with Coach Grubb, that dude's like a mad scientist, man. Like I don't know how he comes up with some of the stuff that he does, but I built a relationship with him like the day he stepped foot on campus. And I remember that transition period when we were all at home after we had went 4-8 and 21. He texted me a couple times and called me and made sure to reach out to me because there's a lot of questions about whether or not some people were going to stay, if I was going to stay. And it was a thought in my brain, but at the same time, for me, it was one of those things where I just felt like I would have regretted not giving these guys a chance. And it was probably one of the best decisions that I feel like I made because we had the 2 years that we had, and it wouldn't have been as special as it was if it weren't for these two coaches. Especially, I think these two really made a really deep impact on me, not even just as a player, but just as a person. Coach Huff has been with me for 5 years, and he's done a lot for me. Me and him, our relationship has grown the past couple years, where he's kind of trusted me with a lot of the things that he has told me, and um, it felt like I was able to kind of bring up stuff, and he was able to shoot it down if he didn't like it or respect what I had, because at the end of the day, like he's coaching us, but we're the ones going out there and playing the games. So he had that trust and our O line to be able to be interactive with him. At times you don't want to be interactive, you just want to let him coach. But at times, the floor is open. So I feel like those two really they hold me to a very high standard. They hold our offensive line to a very high standard, and I think that's just something that is valuable anywhere, regardless of where they go. Them two, they don't ever let the standard drop, and that's just something that I'm very um, I see very valuable going into the NFL for them, and especially for me, because I know what to expect, and just because I've had that hard coaching and that that tough love that you need at times when you need it more than you want it. So
Given how much of an impact they've had on you, have you been able to speak to them much in this process? I don't know what the rules are in terms of now that they're in the NFL, whether like contact's not allowed or anything, or are you able to say, look, I don't know, just to speak to them as you're going through what is going to be a life-changing period in terms of your career?
yeah, so I really haven't talked to them too much. I thought I was going to be able to run into them a little bit more than I have, just because I thought I was going to see them at the combine because I knew I had an interview with the Seahawks, but they weren't there. I thought they were going to be able to make it to the pro day, but they ended up not making it. But I know they have a lot of things going on, but um, Coach Huff pretty much knows everything about me, so there's no need for him to be in there and kind of interview me. You know what I mean? Uh, so especially with Coach Grubb too, I haven't been able to talk to him too much. They've reached out, just still trying to be coaches to us, because at the end of the day, like that's what I value so much about those two is that um, now that even though they're with the NFL, they're still looking out for me, giving me advice, like making sure that because regardless or not, they don't really get the final say on whether they draft me or not. But um, they've always been supportive and helpful, especially with just going into the interviews and stuff like that. And just they've told me just to be myself, man, and that's what I've trying to do throughout this process. And it speaks volumes to the how they were, especially at the time with them reaching out to me. So
Troy, I played beach volleyball last week for the first time, and it was an appalling performance. You were obviously a volleyball player and played at a much higher level than I ever could. I was watching some clips yesterday of you playing. Can you tell us a bit about your love for that sport and how much it has maybe helped you athletically in terms of football?
yeah, so I mean, I grew up playing it a little bit just because both my parents played it. My little sister plays it, so it kind of runs in the family. I just started because our freshman volleyball coach was our defensive line coach. So he kind of just grabbed a couple of us and just was like, go out there and be athletes, you know what I mean? And um, I just wanted to do it because it was fun and it was something to do during the off season. But at the end of the day, like there were some coaches reaching out to see if I was going to play volleyball, but our my volleyball coaches told them that I was a football player through and through. But it was super fun to kind of go out there and compete. I feel like sometimes that football side kind of comes out a little bit. Oh, it came out a lot actually. Then I realized that it's not that kind of sport. So, but yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of like um, agility to be able to jump up and down, play after play, and move laterally. But I think the one thing that I was able to bring to the team, especially in my later years when I moved up to varsity, was just the team aspect. Like I play a team game in football. Like nothing goes if all 11 people aren't on the same page, and I feel like that's something that I brought to the volleyball court. So yeah, beach volleyball though that's hard. I couldn't do it. That's probably one of the hardest things about the sport. I played on a court, so it was a little bit easier to jump. But,
Yeah,
but
some of
yeah.
us are just not, spectacular athletes anyway, Troy. So it's a challenge, regardless of whether it's on a beach or on a court. Listen, I reached out to somebody at UW and said, what should I ask Troy about? And he said, ask him about the way he wears his jersey and his pants. So can you explain, Troy, is there a reason for the shorts and the snug jersey?
So starting with the shirt, well, no, it all started with the pants. So I seen when I was a freshman, Nick Harris, our center, used to wear his pants like that. So I'm like, that's my big bro. So I'm gonna try to do that. So then I started to realize that if it almost helped me move better. I don't know if it was more of a mental thing than anything, but that's how that started. And like as the years went on, the pants got higher and higher and higher. Uh, it kind of just stuck. But the jersey thing, it all started in 2022. It was like fall camp, and it was hot. I think we were practicing at the VMAC, the Seattle's practice facility, and man, it was hot that day. And I think I just rolled up my jersey. Then the rest of the O line rolled up their jersey, and I guess I was the only one that kind of carried it on into the game. And then as the games went by, and then transitioning into 2022 to 23, the jersey got higher and higher because guys in the defense started talking about it. They're like, 55, pull up your jersey. And it made me want to pull it up even higher. So it was one of those things. I kind of just stuck with it. Like it wasn't really a swag thing. It's more of just I feel good. You feel good, you play good. So
This must be a really busy period for you with visits and stuff like that in these sort of final stages before the draft. What is this period like for a player? And what typically happens on those visits for those of us who are never going to be able to take an official visit anywhere? What is that experience like for a player?
so for me, it's almost felt like the college recruiting process. But at the end of the day, I don't get to choose where I go. So that's one of those things where you're kind of going there, meeting all these people, like the general manager, the head coach, offensive coordinator, O-line coach, scouts, basically almost everyone in the building, and kind of just getting introduced to them and them kind of feeling you out. Because at the end of the day, they're not trying to impress me. I'm trying to impress them. So it's a little bit different in a way, but at the same time, it's like it's easy to kind of go into these meetings and meet all these people when you're just being yourself, and that's just kind of what I've been hammered on, especially is that you be yourself, everything's going to be taken care of. So yeah, it's super cool. The night before, some teams do it different. They wine and dine you, give you these big old steaks, and I'm trying super hard not to freaking gain 15 pounds before the draft. So I'm trying to every time I come back to Seattle because I'm in Seattle right now. I'm trying to train as hard as I can because I know I'm going to be um, eating all this food. But that's a cool part. And then the next day, you kind of you can only be there for 24 hours. So you go meet all the people. Then as soon as literally the same day, you fly out. So I have a couple more this upcoming week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Well, Wednesday's the last day you can do it, and I had a couple last week. So it's been a cool process. You know what I mean? It's just been trying to keep busy because this part of the process is super like You're just waiting around a whole bunch. Like you have a whole bunch of free time. Because after you're done training, you really don't want to do too much because I don't want to put myself in a bad situation by going outside. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying everything I can to be occupied in the house and I've been playing the video game so much these past couple months, man. Just trying to stay busy. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm just ready to go, man. It's a whole bunch of waiting around. I'm just ready to figure out what team, decides to take a chance on me um, and get my life started, man. I'm just ready to play football. That at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. You know what I mean? All these dinners are cool and all, but I'm a football player, so I just want to play football.
Looking at your social media, you're very supportive of your teammates at Washington. You know, the offensive line won the Joe Moore Award. You've clearly built some bonds with everybody on that team because you're just so supportive of them. So, what was it like going through the experience of the last couple of years, having all of the success that you've had at Washington, reaching the national championship game, and how will that sort of stay with you as you go to the NFL? Sort of the experiences that you've had at Washington.
To be so honest, like thinking about this past year, the only game I think about is losing that national championship, man. It's the one thing that comes to mind every time I talk about this year. Games like that, you want to win. You know what I mean? You put in so much time, so much effort, um, practices, walkthroughs, lifts, and everything. Everything goes into trying to get to a game like that and win. You know what I mean? And when you don't come out victorious, it stings. So I feel like that's what's really been feeling my process these past couple months. But man, looking back at it now, it was truly special what we did this past year, especially with the guys that you were around in that O line room on that offense. I look to my left and right in practice. I see NFL caliber guys. To my left, I have Rome Odunze out there. Behind me, I have Dylan Johnson, Mike Penix. To my right, I have freaking all my offensive linemen, Roger Rosengarten on the other end. Going against it, I'm going against Braylon Trice. Like these are the type of things that I felt that was truly special at UW, and I just felt like that locker room. That's something that I always remember. That locker room is something different, and it's something you don't see at every other program. And I think that's what truly carried us all the way to that game to make it is the love for each other, the love for your brother next to you. Because like my best friends are on that offensive line. Like the guys that I came in with in 2019, Julius Buelow and Nathaniel Colepo, both at Ole Miss now. Um, those are the guys that we've been talking about playing next to each other and playing with each other for years. And it was crazy to be able to go out there and really, truly put our best foot forward. And we made it. We got to Joe Moore, but there was so much that went into that, so much off the field time spent that went into winning that award. It wasn't just football. We didn't just show up and like that was the only time we talked to each other. I played the game with these guys. We go out to eat with each other. It was something that was truly special. I'll never forget. And as I'm going through this process, meeting all these players, like it really made me value what we had and truly appreciate what we had in that locker room because not every locker room is like that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I know that's a long explanation, but yeah, I just think that everything that we did off the field, who we were as people off the field together really took care of everything on the field. So,
Can I just ask some quick fire? You can either be one word or a sentence on each of your teammates. So if
okay.
I say a name, just sort of give us what first pops into your head.
Yeah,
Michael Penix Jr.
man, he's a leader. And I'm that off the field, on the field, like he leads the offense and yeah, he's a guy, man. I'm still curious on how some of these people are so like are not seeing what I'm seeing. Maybe I'm biased because I got to see him in practice. I got to see him every single day and see what he was so sorry to go on a rant, but man, that pisses me off, man. You know what I mean? I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. And so yeah,
Roger Rosengarten.
dog, technician, um, just a baller, man. He's a hard worker. He shows up every single day and he's a perfectionist, man, in a good way. Like he wants to be better, and that elevates my game too. So
Roma Dunze.
difference maker. Yeah, I truly think he's probably the best. He was the best player on our football team, and he elevated the competition and elevated the game of play. Yeah, difference maker for sure.
Jalen Polk.
Let's see. How do I? I just think he's the most balanced receiver. on our team. Just he has both like route running and I can't really speak too much about receivers, but he's gonna go up and make a play when we need him. And he's a dog too. He especially his mindset. So
Jalen McMillan.
and a playmaker, man, with the ball in his hands, he's gonna make a play. He's one of those. It's one of those guys that you want to get the ball in his hands. He's gonna make a play for sure.
Dylan Johnson.
Tough, tough man. He's a tough runner. Um, everything he's been through this past year, especially later on in the season with his injuries. He's just a tough guy. I appreciate him so much. So
Couple of final players, defenders. Braylon Trice.
sneaky, like he's sneaky athletic, like sneaky strong. Like I think he's the best defensive end that I've played so far, just because I've gone against him so much. He's made me so much better. Like he's probably, yeah, I still think he's probably one of the best defensive ends I've played so far. So
And Dominique Hampton.
I think tough as well. Like he's like game after game, every single game, like he'd probably play the most snaps out of everybody. And just being able to throw his body in there, play after play, day after day, game after game, like he's for sure super tough.
Final two questions. If it was me and I was a player going into the draft, I would have fully intend never to look at a single mock draft. But then I know that I would look at probably every single one because I'd just be intrigued by it. A lot of the mocks, in fact, pretty much every single one puts you in Seattle close to home. Would that appeal to you to sort of stay in the Pacific Northwest? How do you sort of feel about reuniting with obviously Huff and Grubb if all of these mocks are true?
Yeah. I mean, going back to your point, like for me, I don't look at that stuff. My family does though. They like to send me and like, oh look what, because I'm not gonna explain to them like it doesn't matter really. You know what I mean? These people aren't making the decisions, but at the same time, I let them have their fun. Um, so it's pretty cool in that way. But yeah, man, I love Seattle. To be honest, I lived there the last 5 years, and I've enjoyed everything about it. Like I moved there because I wanted the rain. I wanted that weather. I'm so used to the heat. I'm from Las Vegas. People don't people like the sun but the weather in Seattle fits me. Like that's who I am as a person. I feel like not in a bad way, but. Uh, yeah, man, I wouldn't mind it. I know I would know what I'm getting into. Like I know what I'm getting from these coaches, and I know what they expect from me, but probably even at a higher level. Like, um, yeah, I would love to play for Seattle. I mean, I would love any opportunity to be honest. For me, it's just another opportunity to be able to feed my family and provide for them, and that's all this is for me. I love football, and it's a way for me to make a difference in my life, but in other people's lives. So, I mean, Seattle, I wouldn't mind running it back again. Let's do it. You're gonna have to talk to them about that though. They haven't really been, like I said, I haven't been talking to Grubb and Huff too much, but so I don't really know. We'll see.
As somebody who's from England, I would quite happily swap the weather here for the Vegas weather, by the way. So maybe we can do a
Yeah,
little swap there. You can have the rain. I'll have the warm
yeah,
weather. So the final question is, what will draft day be like for you, and who will you be with?
yeah. So I got the invite to go to Detroit, but it just wasn't. It's not. That's not me. Like I don't know how else to put it. Like that's me going on a stage and putting on a cool suit and doing all the theatrics is just isn't me. Like so I made the decision to be at home back in Vegas and just have my family and close friends there with me. And the biggest reason, I would say that truly the biggest reason why I didn't want to go is because luckily I have both my grandmothers alive and they're very old in age and they don't travel. So they don't go on planes. They don't like to do that stuff. It just made more sense to have them next to me. And so when and I do get my name called, you're going to see on TV both my grandmothers on one side and the other one on the other side. And it just meant more to share that moment with all the people that truly believed in me and supported me throughout this journey. So yeah, I'm excited. Super excited. I'm very anxious. You know what I mean? It's a waiting game. So you never know what could happen. So I'm just kind of ready to get this thing kind of over with, and so I can play some football.
Well, Troy, it's been a privilege to have the opportunity to speak to you, and for what little it's worth, I think you're the best left tackle in the draft. So the very best of luck with the process, and the very best of luck as well with your NFL career.
Thank you so much.